odds are if you are in the business world in Baton Rouge in our community and you have been to any type of luncheon that features a guest keynote speaker, odds are the keynote speaker has been Dr. Loren Scott. He is a well-known economist here in our city who has great experience. He was on the LSU economics department faculty from 1969 through 1998. He was also the chairman of the economics department at LSU from 83 to 96. And now he runs a very successful consulting and speaking firm, Loren Scott and Associates, right here out of the capital city. And he is kind enough to join us here on Off the Bench this morning. Dr. Scott, thank you for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Jody. How are you?
Doing okay. Can we just talk about what could be if there is no football in our community? We know what it means on a Saturday here in the fall to bring everybody together to tailgate and everybody enjoying themselves. But what could it look like from an economic impact if those Saturdays do not exist, Doc?
Well, there are three groups, Jordy, that are going to get hammered by this, and I mean seriously hammered. One of the groups is anybody that sells stuff to fans. If you think about it for a minute, there are 64 parishes in Louisiana. 49 of them do not have a population as large as what shows up in Tiger Stadium on one of those Saturday nights. And we actually did surveys of fans there to see how much they spend. And over a 7-game home series, they spend about $50 million in the community. So even if they have the football games but don't have fans, this is going to be a big blow to the area. This is that 7-game home game series is kind of like Christmas to the restaurant industry and to the hotel industry in our community. But there's also the retailers get a lot of money spent the mall gets a lot of money spent. Your clothiers get a lot of money spent that would not be spent otherwise. Gasoline stations, of course, really get a lot of money spent. So one of the first things is just the fan spending, which again we estimate at least $50 million over a 7-game series.
So,
sorry, Dr. Scott, continue. No, continue.
Well, the second group, of course, is the athletic department. I mean, the whole athletic department really runs off of profits from football, and if they don't have a football season, roughly $30 million in ticket sales, another $3 million, let's say, in football parking revenues, another probably $2.5 million in concessions, another $3.5 million in gift center sales. I mean, this is a blow because as it turns out, the other sports do not make money.
Right.
Football and baseball may come very close, but the only reason that we have a soccer team and a women's softball team, track team, is because it is subsidized by the profits from the football side. So if we don't have a football season, I would hate to have the job as the athletic director. I mean, that is just going to be. I don't know how they're going to do that. Of course, if you're in the Ivy League, you can shut it down and it doesn't matter because they don't have hardly anybody show up and it's not a big deal in their budget. And they've got endowments and things to cover that. But here, it is a big deal. And then the last thing, one last thing, Cordy. I'm sorry to keep talking so long.
No, go for it.
The last group that a lot of people don't realize are your civic associations, civic groups in the area. Our church runs, for example, a summer camp for kids. Well, we run one of the concession stands, and we get 12% of the revenues off of that concession. This is a very important part of our budget. There's about $1 million a year that's pumped into different kinds of civic associations, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whatever, through operating these concession stands. And that's another group that a lot of people don't realize that will go away if we do not have a football season. So it is a major issue for our community.
Talking to Dr. Loren Scott on the phone right now here on Off the Bench. And, Doc, that study that The Advocate broke down earlier this week is fascinating, the $50 million that you alluded to. Later in the article, you also talk about ripple effects, right, and trying to figure out not a larger number per se, just trying to figure out the full impact of not having a football season. Give us a little more specificity. You were touching on it there, but how do you determine what are ripple effects? Where do you draw that line? And how do you come up with the number that the kind of full breadth of this could potentially impact?
Well, the first thing we start with in the case of the fan spending is we actually do surveys. We do surveys of fan spending at football games. We did that at two of the football games back during, I think, the 2012 season. And so that's the first thing we get. And then we take that information and we plug it into a tool called an input-output table. And an input-output table enables us to determine the full effect of that spending. For example, if people come here and spend that money, $50 million, that's then going to create new income for people, let's say in restaurants. They then are going to turn around and spend that extra income on grocery stores and car dealerships and movie theaters, and then those people are going to make more money, et cetera, et cetera. And so this input-output table enables us to figure out the ripple effects. And so that's the tool we use. We use that tool both for the fan spending and the athletic department budget. And basically what it shows is there's about $400 million in sales that occurs in Baton Rouge firms because of the existence of that 7-game series. There's almost $120 million in household incomes that exist in the Baton Rouge area that will not exist if the football season doesn't take place. And there are about 4,000 jobs in the community that can be tied back to the spending that takes place during that 7-game series. So you can tell from these numbers, this is not small. This is a really big decision. And to some extent, if we have the football season, that's one thing. If we have the football season and allow fans to come, that's another thing. That'll help. But still, how many people are they going to? How close are they going to come to filling up that stadium, given that we're having this second wave now? That's really a tricky issue for us.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like you said, the hit is going to be inevitable. I guess it's the extent of the hit that we're all trying to kind of parse through now and try to predict. So what do you think, Dr. Scott, if they were able to have these games, and so you imagine the SEC is able to fulfill like in some form or fashion their TV contracts and get money there, but let's say that fans are not allowed because that seems like it could be very likely. What, like, out of those numbers you just mentioned, do those move at all? Does it get a little better? Like, what are the ripple effects of playing the season but with no fans in the stadium?
Well, I mean, the first thing you think about is the athletic department budget. I mean, what are they going to do about ticket sales? I assume they're going to have to refund everybody's tickets. That's $30 million at least. They're not going to be football parking revenues, so that's another $3 million. There's going to be no concessions. That's another $2.5 million. I mean, you're starting to add up numbers here that make you wonder how the athletic director is going to support the whole athletic system. So it's not just the football season that's on line here; it's all the other sporting events as well. So it's just kind of almost inconceivable that we're facing this, but everything's been inconceivable this spring and summer, hasn't it? It's just been really, really strange. Hey, Jordy, I think your audience might be interested in one other thing we found in this study. I know a lot of people look at coaches' salaries, like Coach O getting about $7 million a year or so. So, how could he possibly be worth that? Well, one of the things we did is we looked at the impact on the athletic budget of having a 5-win season versus a 9-win season.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh. It is multi-millions of dollars. If you go back to that early 90s period when we were winning like 3 and 4 and 5 games a year,
right,
and then we went to winning 9. I mean, these coaches are worth every penny if they can take us up to 9, 10, or in our case, 15-win season.
Wow.
So they are totally worth that amount of money.
Dr. Loren Scott with,
really
as
good
always,
point.
great insight. Yeah, that is a very good point that you never think about. And I know, Doc, you always, when I hear you speak, you're always thinking, speaking of the economic impact and the future. So right now with our state, oil and gas in the tank, casinos have been shuttered. There are businesses that are permanently closing now with football hanging in the balance. Having said all that, what do you imagine Louisiana looks like in the upcoming years? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel, or is this, are we kind of destined after the last couple of months to be permanently in the dweller?
Well, actually, we're beginning our work on the 21 and 22 forecast. Our team will start working on that. Matter of fact, we've already started working on it this month. We'll work on it all the way through August, and we'll release our forecast in September. I think we can roughly tell you already that we will come out of it. It'll be more of a, not like a V, but like a Nike, what I call a Nike recovery. You know, the Nike swoosh, it goes down sharply and then slowly comes back. It's not like a V. I think it's going to be more of a Nike recovery, and I think it's going to be a little more difficult for Louisiana because of the oil and gas side. Oil prices are still, they're fortunately come up a lot since bottoming out in the teens. They're now up around $40-41 a barrel. So that's helping, but it's got to go up a lot further than that to get the Gulf of Mexico going again and getting Houma and Lafayette going again. So it is going to be tough. Now, the good news is before we went into this thing, you went back to February and looked at our forecast for the U.S. economy, the Louisiana economy, it was really good. The underlying fundamentals of the economy were very, very good. As a matter of fact, we were in our 127th month of economic growth nationally, a record level of growth. The basic underlying fundamentals of the economy were good, and everybody was saying it's going to continue through 2021 unless we have an external shock. Well, we got two external shocks. We got the coronavirus and we got the oil price thing. But if we can just get a vaccine, we can get something that will stop this sucker in its tracks. Again, the underlying fundamentals are very good, and we can come back. But we've created a lot of financial issues right now for all kinds of firms, and that's going to make it, I think, more of a Nike recovery than a V recovery.
LorenScottAssociates.com. Dr. Loren Scott, anybody who has any type or anybody who needs any type of economic information on our state and our city, he is the authority. Dr. Loren Scott with a couple of minutes with us here this morning on Off the Bench. We appreciate your time. Have a good weekend.
Okay, Jody, you too, Bob.
Thank you. There he is, Dr. Loren Scott checking in from Baton Rouge this morning. Dire numbers to think about our community without college football. We will continue Off the Bench next.
I guess the most dire part is it's even with college football, but without fans. It sounds like the impact could even be pretty extreme. So I don't know, man. I don't know. That didn't make me feel that much better, but thank you to Dr. Scott. Some incredible information there.